Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Sometimes when we look around and notice striking similarities between different things, it gets hard to understand if it's purely a coincidence or if it is the output of a plan. Let's look at Jamarat as an example. All three Jamarat represent Iblees. The first and largest represent his temptation of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam against sacrificing his son Ismael. The second represents the temptation of Ibrahim's wife Hājar to induce her to stop him. And the third represents his temptation of Ismael to avoid being sacrificed. He was rebuked each time, and the throwing of the stones symbolizes those rebukes. Every year during Hajj, millions of Muslims throw stones at these Jamarat, repeating what Ibrahim alayhi salam did, and for how many thousands of years this ritual has been going on, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. In short, it means that these Jamarat symbolize hatred and insult for Iblees, and it's definitely not a coincidence. Let us look closely at one of the old Jamarats. Its shape looks similar to an Egyptian obelisk. We Muslims know that Iblees is egoistic by nature, and these Jamarats and their shape definitely hurt his ego. Now let's look at the Egyptian obelisk. Its symbolism and use represented the strength of the ancient Egyptians' faith and the power of the sun god Ra. In short, this structure and its shape is symbolism of respect for ancient Egyptians. Now, let's look at another structure called the Washington Monument, located in Washington, USA. It was constructed in memory and honor of George Washington. This structure and its shape are also symbols of respect for the Americans. However, it doesn't matter for what purpose the Egyptian obelisks and Washington Monument were constructed. But it is very surprising to notice these structures have similarities with one of the Jamarat. The difference is that Muslims consider obelisks shaped Jamarat to represent Iblis, while the same shape represented respect and god Ra in ancient Egypt, and the same shape in the form of the Washington Monument represents respect and honor for today's Americans. It's hard to convince oneself that it's just a coincidence that a historically significant structure and its shape represent evil in one part of the world, and the same shape represents God and respect in another part of the world. Or are we missing a point here? Could it be that since Iblis is insulted and hated in the form of Jamarat, he might have insinuated the idea to his worshippers of building mega structures like Egyptian obelisks and Washington Monument, similar to the shape of Jamarat, to make people respect him? Could it be that he's making a statement to Muslims that no matter how much he's insulted and hated, he will still find a way for people to like and respect him? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from Iblis and his worshippers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
للدعاء ومن دعاه